Hello, this is Tim Reynolds, and you're on FRET12, and here we are in Lincoln Hall in Chicago, Illinois. Well, I think what first, I was really young in the 60s, before I was even in grade school. My sister used to get albums of the Beatles, probably Elvis Presley, and then I saw a lot of James Brown, and all the stuff that was coming out in the 50s was 60s was very guitar orientated. The Beatles specifically, I used to play air guitar with my Tonka fire engine ladder, and that was my first guitar, playing air guitar to the Beatles. That's basically the original impetus. And my Uncle Bill, who lived with this, and a few years later, he kind of taught me the basic chords, and then I was completely hooked. I mean, I had piano lessons during the same time, which I absorbed at some point, but I was always like, I want to play the guitar. Well, the amp is a dual rectifier with a 212 cab. I was using a Marshall for a while, and I love Marshalls too, but for some reason I just went back to this amp. It's really warm, and it does the clean sound really well. And really, electric guitar, I play mostly the Strat and the V, but I have the Les Paul tuned to like the C tuning for some kind of more metal songs, and then I have the Schecter 7-string for other metal songs, and then I got this double neck last Christmas for a Led Zeppelin song and a couple originals that I've written with that guitar in mind. And so,
is it a drop C tuning or?
It is actually.
Nice.
That's a drop D tuning, and I do drop D tuning on these two guitars, but I just do it whenever, song by song.
Nice.
So it's hard to say what the main guitar is. I mean, the Strat maybe by default, just because it does the most things. Like, one thing I can do with the Strat, what they can't do with the other guitars, is volume swell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, Strat just got that really biting kind of tone for lead work, and it's got a humbucker, so it's got a lot of bottom end for crunchy stuff too. So,
is there a reason that you put the humbucker in the bridge position?
well, I would probably just as well have a regular Strat, but I got one for Christmas a few years back, and it came with the humbucker.
Makes sense.
And it was a little too beefy at the time, but I got used to it. So when I had other ones made, I wanted to get a little less beefy humbucker. I don't know what the difference is between this and the other one. It's a Fender humbucker that sounds pretty Fendery. Right. I mean, I'm sure a single coil would have a little more bite, but...
Yeah.
Just because of the brilliance of his guitar playing, just being on the same stage and playing with Stanley Jordan was pretty much of a mind-blowing experience, because he's just uber advanced. I mean, my God, And, I mean, and in a different way, Warren Haynes, who's got so much soul, and each note is like a fucking train of all history of badass tone guitar. That's, and those are totally different parts of the brain for me. Like, the real technical jazz technique kind of guitar stuff is for the head, and everything else is from the soul. And I kind of, over the long term, go for the soul, but I'm still connected to the brain, so I'm always checking out things that make my brain feel funny, like Brazilian samba jazz guitar player Yamandu Costa, who's like, wow! He's really sick, so... That's all. And blues. I love Albert King and Robert Johnson. There's different spectrums, but I used to be more pigeonholed. I'd be into one thing for a while to kind of go into it and absorb the style, like metal or whatever. But now, after kind of going through all that, I'm kind of try to, any given day I'll go for another thing and check that out. Like, I love Meshuggah, but I love Robert Johnson, the way he sings and plays and just gets amazing one-note mojo going. It's fucking amazing. It's funny, it's almost like every song, a lot of, it's kind of a different genesis. Sometimes there's a passion of a vocal line and you start with that. For me, generally, it's just a little musical idea, and what I do is, when I'm at home, I'll put them on like a little DVD player, because it's just the easiest way to, okay, I get an idea, I can turn that machine on, I don't have to go through any other process, and then I can always transfer the idea to a CD, and And I just kind of build from that. I get little ideas, and then I kind of go back and check them out and sift through them and then label, this one's good, and I go back. And sometimes a song will kind of just come out and it'll be almost done. Like, I wrote a song a couple months ago, about walking on a beach. And I had this music in my mind, I hummed it into my cell phone, and then we learned it like a couple days later, and that was that song. And then some songs I've started early in the year, I still haven't finished. So some come out like boom, and some take a while. But that's my almost. I mean, I love to play, but it's almost really, really super satisfying to write a song. I mean, I don't really write hit songs necessarily. I don't know. That's a whole different science, but just things that express your feelings and feel good when you play them, I never know when a song's done. And actually, once you start playing them live, you realize it's
far
as
from
long as you
done,
keep
yeah.
playing it, it's not done, which is the beauty of it, I mean, when you record it, it's done, and that part of the process is a finished thing, and that's cool. But I realize, even after that, you start messing with songs after you play them for a long time and go, well, I'm going to do it like this now. And that's kind of a healthy thing. Like, Peter Gabriel, one of my idols, he does San Jacinto a little different every time, but it's always just like, oh my God. It's like blows your whole body just oozes emotion because that's such a deep song. So I love how people do that. And then other artists will kind of treat it like classical music and do it just like the record every time. And I love that too. I mean, that's great music out there that can be done in many ways, but there's always a little difference, I guess. Even in classical music, every day the same person can perform the same piece in the same notes, but as humans, I don't think we can really play them exactly microtonally the same, but that's the beauty of it. The one that I have never had, which I don't even know what that is. I would probably love to have one of those big Gretsch hollow bodies like my Uncle Bill had, because they're awesome, but they also sound like a certain thing, so or like a Telecaster. I love those guitars too, because I have one, but the Telecaster I had, it's now become like a Les Paul, so it's not even a Telecaster anymore because it has big ass humbuckers. But
with the lipstick pickup and all that.
Yeah, it's almost like the grass is greener thing, whatever I haven't checked out before, so a big giant Gretsch White Falcon or a big green Gretsch, that's a dream guitar, but like I say, if I just played that forever, it would sound totally different, but that would be fun. Essentially, it's a Ernie Ball volume pedal and a DD5, preferably, because it's got that function where if you put it in reverse, it becomes a pitch shifter, and you could put it on infinite feedback, and it'll bleed a note into there, and then immediately it doesn't sound like a guitar, so then you start messing with the delay length knob, and that treats it like a pitch shifter, and that's where it gets really fun for me. Then you can make it the same note pitched up and then back down. It's no longer a guitar because it's backwards, and so that's a lot of fun. And that's about it. The other thing is a Ara, which just makes the acoustic sound acoustic, which I'm so grateful for that technology, because up until that thing, I thought I couldn't really stand the board tape sound of the acoustic because it was the piezo sound. It was just like, it just sounded like a bad electric guitar. But once they got the Ara happening, I was completely thrilled because it was a simple way to plug your guitar in. It sounded acoustic, and that's the best. Well, kind of, even though it's an old standard, it's 41, just because the way the changes move, it's just got a very, not bluesy, but it's just got that vibe. I love anything that goes, anything to the 4 minor chord, and I'm there, or anything to the, that's the happy, sad, beautiful chord progression of all the world.
Let's see.
Sometimes I'll just noodle, play, I don't know. I'll just play fast shit, and then I'll also just bend a lot of notes to kind of get my hand ready, but that's about it, It's not a specific thing other than, maybe I'll play a song, or, I'll just kind of noodle around, which is a really bad word because it has a connotation, but I don't think it's anything more than that while I'm warming up. And then on the stage, it's more, becomes more music because you're interfacing with the band. But just pick up the guitar and play a little bit, that kind of glued it for me in a way, and it was also a way to keep a continuous crux thing going on with that. You know, that all kind of happened when I was thinking about doing the tour, and I hadn't really decided yet. And we had just done the record, and it was kind of everything was just kind of going in that direction. But that kind of, you know,
Solidified
brought
for you.
it because that was, you know, it was just such a sad thing that happened. Oh man, you know, Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, even Duane Allman, Joe Pass, George Benson, Trent Reznor, Stephen Carpenter from the Deftones, Dimebag Darrell, the guy from the Meshuggah, Alan Holdsworth, supremely, and even though he's not a guitar player, Ravi Shankar as a string instrument player, and L. Shankar as a string instrument player, and traditional dervish nave flute improv, which is like, it's just some of the most amazing music I've ever heard. I'm trying to, once in a while, if I'm in the right framework, kind of emote some of that, but I have to really have just heard it, you know, right now, and then go back to it, like, you know, like. That's not a very good example, sorry.